Hey, I need to ask you something before we get started. Have you ever watched Kung Fu Panda and been left with that feeling of, man, what if things had gone differently? Because I have. Every single time I rewatch that bridge scene, I catch myself thinking, what if the Furious Five had actually pulled it off? What if Tigress, Crane, Viper, Mantis, and Monkey had stopped Tai Lung right there, without Po, without the Dragon Scroll, without any of that? What would have happened next? Would the world of Kung Fu Panda be completely different? Well, today we are going to explore exactly that. We are going to take that iconic rope bridge battle, rewrite the outcome, and then figure out what would change in the Valley of Peace, in the Jade Palace, in Shifu's life, in Po's life, and most importantly, in Tai Lung's own destiny. Stay until the end because there is a lot of good stuff here that will make you see this movie in a whole new way. Let's go. Before anything else, we need to understand the context of that fight. Why did the Furious Five go to that bridge? What was each of them carrying in that moment? Because it was not an easy decision, and most importantly, it was not Shifu's decision. This is a detail that a lot of people do not remember correctly, and it changes everything about this analysis. Shifu did not send the five to that bridge. The one who made that call was Tigress, on her own, behind Shifu's back. She was in the Jade Palace that night and overheard Shifu in despair, saying he did not know how to turn Po into a warrior in time to stop Tai Lung. And that was too much for her. Tigress, who had devoted her entire life to Kung Fu, who had trained harder than anyone else, who had dreamed of being Oogway's chosen one, stood there listening to her master admit that the valley's only hope was a panda, who could barely get out of bed in the morning, so she left in the middle of the night in silence. No warning, no permission. And Crane, Viper, Mantis, and Monkey, when they realized she was gone, went after her. Not because they had a plan, but because Tigress was one of theirs. And nobody lets one of theirs go alone to the edge of the world to face a murderous leopard. Shifu only found out they were gone the next day. This is crucial to our what if. Because Tigress did not go to that bridge with a winning strategy. She went there carrying a mix of loyalty to the valley, years of bottled up anger, and that deep need to prove that Shifu was wrong, that she was enough, that she could handle what Oogway never trusted her with. And that is exactly where our alternate version starts to take shape. Because what if Tigress, instead of going to the bridge just to slow Tai Lung down, had gone there with the mindset of finishing it once and for all? The fight starts differently. In the version we know, the five arrive at the bridge before Tai Lung. They take their positions. Tigress leads from the front as always, and when Tai Lung shows up, he is calm, confident, almost bored. He looks at them like they are minor obstacles, and in a way he was right, because the five did not go there to win. They went there to buy time. And there is a massive difference between those two mental states when you are in a fight. But now imagine that Tigress, that night, left the Jade Palace with a different decision made inside her. That instead of thinking, I will buy time for Po to learn, she thought, I am going to end this right here. That she gathered the others on the bridge and said without hesitation, today we do not fall back. Today we finish this. The five of us together are capable, and I am going to prove it. That shift in mindset completely changes the dynamics of the fight. The first major difference would be positioning. In the movie, the five spread out across the bridge in a way that lets Tai Lung use the environment to his advantage. But in an alternate version where they are genuinely trying to win, the strategy would be different. Viper and Mantis would work together from the very beginning, focused on shutting down Tai Lung's movement. Mantis's technique of blocking pressure points which he tried in the movie but Tai Lung countered before he could land it, would actually work if Viper created a simultaneous distraction. Two attackers at the same time from opposite angles. Tai Lung is powerful, but he does not have 4 arms. Meanwhile, Monkey and Tigress would be the muscle. Monkey has insane agility. Nobody talks about him as much as they should. He climbs structures, uses the environment in ways none of the others can. On a rope bridge over a massive drop, that is a huge advantage. He could use the bridge's own ropes as a trap, wrapping them around Tai Lung's feet while Tigress applied pressure from the front. And Crane? Crane would be the wild card. In the movie, Crane uses his wings to create air currents that knock enemies off balance. On a narrow bridge, that is devastating. A well-timed wing strike from Crane could easily destabilize Tai Lung, who even as a formidable fighter, still needs to be grounded to fight effectively. So picture this beginning. Tai Lung arrives. The 5 attack simultaneously from calculated angles. It is controlled chaos. And for the first time in his life, Tai Lung feels like maybe this will not be as easy as he thought. Tai Lung starts feeling the pressure. This is where things get really interesting. Tai Lung is a martial arts genius. He learned 1,000 different styles just by watching. Prison did not weaken him. If anything, it gave him years inside his own head, analyzing every technique he had ever learned, every movement he had ever seen. When he walked out of Chorgam, he was technically the most complete fighter in the entire Kung Fu Panda world. But he has one massive weakness, his ego. Tai Lung cannot accept that he might lose, and that is a serious problem when you are fighting 5 coordinated opponents who are willing to sacrifice themselves, because he starts underestimating. He starts wanting to humiliate instead of just defeat, and that is when the 5 find their opening. Picture Tigress doing something he does not expect, retreating on purpose. Tai Lung advances, certain of victory, and then Monkey and Mantis close in from behind, while Viper locks down the pressure point on his right wrist. It is a trap with 5 moving parts. In the movie, Tai Lung uses his nerve strikes, those attacks on pressure points throughout the body, against the 5 with frightening ease. But what if Mantis already knew he was gonna try that? Because Shifu knows those techniques. Shifu trained the 5, and Tigress, who grew up inside the Jade Palace, knew exactly what Tai Lung was capable of. She knew his style. She knew the marks of the same training Shifu gave both of them, because at the end of the day, Tai Lung's style and her style came from the same master. This is something the movie does not show explicitly, but it makes complete sense. Tigress could have given the others a full briefing before the fight, how Tai Lung moves, where he attacks first, what makes him miss. And with that knowledge, the 5 would not just be 5 talented fighters. They would be 5 specialists in Tai Lung's specific fighting style. The decisive moment, so we arrive at the climax of our alternate version. The 5 have managed to hold Tai Lung. He is at his limit. Maybe for the first time since he was a child, Tai Lung is feeling like he might actually lose. And here something happens that changes everything. Hesitation. Tigress looks at Tai Lung and sees an exhausted, furious, but also confused leopard. Because Tai Lung was not trained to lose. He was trained to be the best. And when you spend your entire life believing you are the chosen one, that the dragon scroll is yours by right, and then suddenly 5 people are showing you that maybe it is not that simple, something breaks. And Tigress, who was also raised by Shifu, who also once dreamed of being recognized as special, as the chosen one, understands what is happening to him in a way nobody else on that bridge would understand, because she lived a smaller version of the same pain, never chosen by Oogway. never told by Shifu that she was enough. She grew up powerful, respected, but always carrying that emptiness of not being the one her master saw as worthy. She does not want to be cruel, she wants to end this. So instead of throwing Tai Lung into the abyss, she does something radical. She stops the fight. She speaks to Tai Lung in a firm voice, but without rage. "It is over. You lost. But I am not gonna kill you." And the five hold him down, immobilized but alive. And now comes the big question. What do you do with him? What happens after the victory? This is the heart of our what if. Because winning the fight is one thing, but what comes after winning changes everything. If the five bring Tai Lung back to the Valley of Peace as a prisoner, who decides his fate? Shifu. Because Oogway had already become peach blossom petals and disappeared before any of this happened. So Shifu would be the one responsible, and Shifu would have to face what he had been avoiding for decades. A real conversation with Tai Lung? Think about the weight of that scene. Shifu and Tai Lung face to face, not as master and student, not as warrior and prisoner, but as a father and a son who never managed to understand each other. Tai Lung wanting recognition, wanting to hear that he was good enough. Shifu carrying the guilt of having built the impossible expectations that destroyed Tai Lung. And there is another layer here that becomes even heavier in this scenario. It was Tigress, not Shifu, who went out there. Shifu stayed in the palace. The student he never chose as his greatest warrior was the one who did what he could not do, and she brought Tai Lung back alive. Which means Shifu had no way to keep running from that conversation. In this situation, maybe Shifu finally says what he never said, that he loved Tai Lung like a son, that he regrets putting the scroll above the student himself. Not because that changes what Tai Lung did, but because it was a truth that needed to be spoken. And that brings us to a very interesting question. Could Tai Lung actually be redeemed? Hey, before we keep going, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, ring the bell so you never miss a video, and if you really want to support this channel, become a member down below. Members get access to exclusive content, and it helps the channel grow in a huge way. Now let's get back into it. Can Tai Lung actually be redeemed? In the original movie, Po settles the Tai Lung problem with the Wuxi finger hold. A quick, definitive ending that raises a lot of philosophical questions the movie never really answers, by the way. But in our alternate version, Tai Lung's alive. And now, we have to deal with the full complexity of this character. Tai Lung is not a simple villain. He does not want to take over the world. He does not want power for power's sake. He wants recognition. He wants someone to look at him and say, "You are special, you are enough." And that is a deeply human thing, or in this case, a deeply feline thing. If Shifu finally has that conversation with him, if he finally takes responsibility for what happened, there would be a chance for Tai Lung to start changing. Not immediately, not in some magical way, but there would be a seed. And what would happen to the Valley of Peace in this scenario? Because the villagers know nothing about what happened in prison, about what Shifu did, about how Tai Lung was left alone with his own rage. All they know is that Tai Lung is a monster, and bringing him back to the valley, even as a prisoner, would be an incredibly controversial decision. Imagine the reaction from Mr. Ping, Po's adoptive father. Imagine the other villagers. They would be terrified. Understandably so. So there would be a real social conflict in the valley, not just a physical battle. How do you reintegrate a predator who destroyed everything into a community that is still afraid of him? And Po, what would happen to Po? This is perhaps the most radical change of all, because if the five had defeated Tai Lung without Po's help, The dragon scroll would never need to be revealed. The dragon warrior would never need to be declared, and Po would remain just a panda working in a noodle restaurant with impossible dreams of becoming a kung fu master. The question is, would Shifu have any reason to keep training Po? In the movie, Po's training was accelerated by the urgency of Tai Lung's threat. Without that urgency, without that sense of we need to turn this panda, it can be into a warrior right now, or it will be too late, Shifu would probably have gone back to his original stance. This panda does not belong here, so instead of becoming the dragon warrior, Po would have left the Jade Palace. Maybe with his tail between his legs, maybe with a broken heart, and it would be a completely different Po from the one we know. A Po who never discovered what he was capable of, who never heard his father's story about the secret ingredient, who never learned to accept himself. That is a massive loss, and we realize that Po's journey was never just about saving the valley. It was about finding out who he was. And without the crisis caused by Tai Lung, that journey simply does not happen. But wait, that does not mean Po was destined to never grow. It means his growth would have had a different trigger, maybe slower, maybe more painful, but still possible. What would happen to Shifu? Shifu's arc in the first Kung Fu Panda is one of the most powerful things in animated cinema, and people rarely talk about it enough. Shifu spends the entire movie carrying enormous guilt. Guilt over what happened to Tai Lung. Guilt over having failed as a master. And when he finally accepts Po, when he finally finds that inner peace Oogway always talked about, it is a moment of genuine liberation. But in our alternate version, without Po to catalyze that transformation, would Shifu have reached the same conclusion on his own? Probably not. He would likely remain trapped in the same emotional prison that defined him. A brilliant master who never learned to be a real father, who never learned that love and expectation are not the same thing. The Five's victory would have given Shifu temporary relief, but not a cure. And when Tai Lung was brought back to the valley, Shifu would have to face all of it again, but this time without the wisdom that Po inadvertently brought to him. That is one of the most beautiful ironies of this alternate version. The Five's victory would be a physical victory, but not a spiritual one. The Valley of Peace would be physically safe, but the emotional wounds of the Jade Palace would remain open and bleeding. Hey, quick break, let me tell you about something that completely changed the way I watch movies and shows at home. The Amazon Fire Stick. If you do not have one yet, it turns any regular TV into a smart TV. You get Netflix, Prime Video, Disney+, YouTube, everything on a big screen with excellent picture quality. And the best part, it is super easy to use. No technical knowledge needed. Just plug it in and watch. I use mine to binge exactly this kind of content we are talking about right here. You can grab yours through the link in the YouTube shopping section below the video. Absolutely worth checking out. Would the Five have changed as a group? Now, let us talk about something few analyses ever explore. The emotional impact of a victory like this on the Furious Five's own personalities. Tigress would change the most. In the original movie, she has a complicated relationship with Po for most of the film. She sees him as weak, as an accident, as someone who should not be there, and only at the end does she start to shift when she sees what he is capable of. Without Po in the story, Tigress would never have that mirror, would never have someone showing her that strength and heart can coexist, that you do not have to be perfect to be valuable. After defeating Tai Lung, Tigress would probably become even more rigid, even more emotionally closed off. Because what does a warrior learn when she wins through pure strength? That strength is enough. That discipline is enough. That feelings are a weakness she can keep suppressing. And that would be tragic in the long run. Because Tigress, just like Tai Lung, carries childhood wounds. She was abandoned. She grew up in an orphanage where the other children were afraid of her because of her strength. And the one who took her in was Shifu, who was also never good at showing affection. Without Po to break that cycle, Tigress would continue being a less extreme version of Tai Lung himself, powerful, disciplined, and deeply alone. Crane, on the other hand, might have the most positive evolution, because the victory on the bridge would have been partially built on his ability to use the environment to his advantage. Crane was always underestimated for appearing to be the least physically intimidating of the five. A victory where Crane was a key piece would change how the others see him, and maybe change how he sees himself. Monkey would carry the scar of having almost lost everything. Viper would become more confident, and Mantis, that tiny little bug carrying insane strength and speed, would finally have a story to tell that nobody would dare doubt, because he was there. He fought Tai Lung and he did not run. But what about the Dragon Scroll? Here we reach a point that leaves a lot of people curious. What happens to the Dragon Scroll in this alternate version? Remember that Oogway had already chosen Po as the Dragon Warrior before the bridge fight even happened. Shifu completely disagreed, but Oogway was clear. There are no accidents. Po was chosen before the fight took place, so the scroll would still exist. Po would still technically be the Dragon Warrior designated by Oogway, but without the urgency of using the scroll to face Tai Lung, Shifu would never hand it to Po. Maybe the scroll would stay locked in the Hall of Warriors for years, maybe decades, waiting for someone Shifu never recognizes as worthy. And here there is a really interesting philosophical reading. Oogway understood that the scroll was not a weapon, it was a mirror. The scroll's message, Tigress and the which in the movie reveals, there is no secret, that power comes from within, did not need Tai Lung to be true. It was true before, during, and after. But without Po to receive it, that wisdom would sit rolled up on a high shelf, completely useless. It is almost poetic, the deepest truth in the entire Kung Fu Panda universe, completely wasted because the world was not ready to hear it. Could Tai Lung have become an ally? Let us explore the most optimistic scenario. Say Shifu really did have that conversation with Tai Lung, that he asked for forgiveness, that Tai Lung, after months or maybe years of internal work, started letting go of the rage, started understanding that the scroll was never going to fill the emptiness he felt. In that scenario, could Tai Lung eventually join the side of the heroes? That sounds unlikely, but it is not impossible, because Tai Lung was genuinely gifted. He was a master of martial arts. And if that gift were redirected toward protection instead of destruction, he could become one of the most formidable fighters on the side of good. Imagine Tai Lung and Tigress working together. Two fighters raised by the same master, with similar stories of pain and completely opposite styles. The tension would be enormous, but it would also be a devastating partnership in combat, and Tai Lung's redemption arc would be one of the most satisfying things animated cinema could ever offer. But let us be honest, that would require Tai Lung to change from the inside out, and nobody can force that change. Not Shifu with all his wisdom, not Tigress with all her strength. Only Tai Lung himself could choose to let go of the anger and accept that he was wrong. That what happened to him was unfair, yes, but that using that injustice as a justification for hurting others was a choice he kept making. And that brings us back to the central theme of the Kung Fu Panda universe. Kung Fu is not just about physical strength. It is about what you do with who you are. And the Valley of Peace in the long run, if the five had defeated Tai Lung, the Valley of Peace would have remained peaceful, at least for a while. But without Po as the Dragon Warrior, without that chaotic, joy-filled energy he brings to everything, The Jade Palace would continue being a very serious, very formal, very distant place from ordinary people. One of the most important things Po does in the Kung Fu Panda universe is not just defeat villains. It is being a bridge between common people and the masters. He reminds everyone that Kung Fu is not just for the enlightened and the chosen. It is for everybody. That any person, no matter how unlikely they seem, can find their own path. Without Po, that message would never reach the people of the valley. The five would remain distant heroes, respected but untouchable, and the Jade Palace would continue being that mysterious thing high up on the mountain that protects people but never really becomes part of the community. The Valley of Peace would be safe, but it would not be whole. Subscribe and drop a like if you haven't done that yet. It helps a lot. The final takeaway. So what did we learn from all of this exercise in imagination? The Furious Five's victory on the bridge would have been a real victory, but an incomplete one. It would have saved lives, protected the valley, and shown the world that there was more than one warrior capable of standing up to Tai Lung. But it would have left untouched the deepest wounds in the Kung Fu Panda universe. The wound of a Shifu who never learned to love without controlling. The wound of a Tigress who never learned to feel without being ashamed. The wound of a Tai Lung who never heard that he was enough. And the wound of a chubby little panda who dreamed of being more than he believed he could be. Po was not the dragon warrior because he was the strongest. He was the dragon warrior because he was the most human. Because he knew how to feel joy, pain, failure, and hope in a way that everyone else had forgotten how to do. And without him, the Valley of Peace would have survived Tai Lung, but it would not have healed from itself. And maybe that is the most beautiful point in this entire alternate story. Sometimes the person who saves the world is not the most powerful one. It is the one who arrives through the most unlikely accident at the most unexpected moment and changes everything just by being themselves. Oogway knew this. There are no accidents. Po was the accident the valley needed. That was today's video, guys. If you enjoyed this analysis, I really want to know what you think in the comments. Tell me, do you think Tai Lung would have a chance at redemption? Would you prefer Po as the hero, or would you have liked to see the Furious Five get more of the spotlight? I will read every single comment, and if you want to see more videos like this, analysis, what ifs, deep dives into universes we love, just keep an eye on the channel. There is a lot more content coming. See you in the next one.